careful that we don't get to that point. Just this morning, we were having this, well, a couple of months ago, I brought together a bunch of people and had a housing advisory task force to explore housing in the city of Norwalk, look at the inventory that we have, look at what we need, and look at how we can protect what we have and expand upon what we need. So first of all, they use the term workforce housing or affordable housing in the city of Norwalk. That's not really affordable for a lot of people. That is something that a lot of people can't afford. Somebody living on fixed income, somebody that is a senior citizen. So what I've done was we focused on the 35 to 65,000 income earners. So if you earn between 35,000 and 65,000, how do we accommodate your housing needs? So that report will be coming out with their findings and their recommendations, and if we implement with private partnerships with Habitat for Humanities and other groups that build this type of housing, then we can make sure that we provide for the people and protect people from gentrification. But the important thing is that we have to maintain our neighborhoods. We have some beautiful neighborhoods in the South Norwalk area, West Norwalk area, East Norwalk, all throughout the community. We have some very unique and neighborhoods that have their own identity, and people have lived there for many, many years, and we need to make sure that we don't force them out. And by putting that housing study out at 35 to 65, we should be able to help out significantly. Thank you.
Thank you for that question. It's an excellent question. It's interesting, though, in 2017, we're still having this conversation, because quite frankly, this isn't new news. Anyone would tell you 10 years ago, with all the development that was being planned, that there was a concern for gentrification down here in South Norwalk. And when Alex Knopp was mayor, there was an entire South Norwalk development study done with Webster Street block, and some of the people I'm sitting out looking in this room here right now, we're all clear, we had a mayor at that time who was saying, listen, no matter what we do with development, we need to make certain that we avoid gentrification. Quite frankly, we have a mayor who's asking for a third term. He's already been in office for 2 terms. I don't know how he missed the fact that gentrification was a concern before now. And to have a study that now at the end of your 2nd term, you're saying, we're gonna finally take the study and we're gonna decide that we need 35 and 65% housing. I already told you, in 2007, I became a state representative, and I believe it was that same year that it was either 2007 or 2008 that we pushed for getting CHFA to provide housing out of the bonding, 20% of it, for housing at 35 and 65% median income. So the provision has always been there. The issue is, where is the will, the leadership at the top? That when developers are coming in and saying, I want to build this building, or I want to build this building, fine, that's good. You know what? But let's negotiate. Let's work on doing something to make sure that you're going to add some more housing. Why not just take a look at our regulations? I'm telling you what, me, number one, day one, I want to sit down with our common council, because everyone recognizes our kids cannot afford to live in this city. We can't continue to wait for another study. Their families are leaving, and that's bad. We just had a study recently came out, the Hour did it, between the income divide between rich and poor in Fairfield County is getting worse and worse, and Norwalk is the worst one at it. Housing policy is important. We must do something to change. This is not a new issue. I'm glad you're bringing it up. But guess what? That's why I said I'm running in this race, because this is about where we're going to be 10 years from now. We need someone who's an initiator. Bruce Morris is an initiator.
I agree with what a lot of Bruce has said. 4 years ago, when the mayor was elected, we had a planning and zoning problem, and I asked for a city planner, and we didn't get one. We still don't have one, and we don't have a plan for the city. And when you don't have a plan for the city, you start having problems. We talk about a master plan, but then there's also the redevelopment agency. And I was looking in the budget a couple weeks ago, and we have organizations, or all the organizations in the city fall into the budget, and you see them. But redevelopment's kind of like this black ops. You can't see it. It shows up here, shows up there, and a grant here and a grant there. And redevelopment is responsible for most of the controversial developments that are going on in different places. What I have seen in living here is that we seem to have one set of rules for residents. You want to put a deck on your house, you want to do this, you can't do it. No, 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 no. There's another set of rules if you're the big guys and you want to build big apartments, or you want to build this, or you want to build that. One of my problems, and this is why I'm going to be called that I'm being negative, but the reality is I'm not a politician. I have never run for office before. Last time I ran for office, it was in junior high school, as student body vice president. But I am an activist. One of my concerns is that we don't have a city manager, and I think it's been the culture of Norwalk, this is not just this mayor, because the mayors don't want a city planner, because that allows you to make things happen. Right now, 2/3 of our mayor's campaign contributions are coming from outside this city. A lot of them with contractors and builders and lawyers who make things happen in this city. And that's a problem, and I think that's probably contributing some of our gentrification. Things are happening in this town. And because we don't have a city planner, I think that's by design. Our political culture doesn't want a city planner. And that's been the way Norwalk's been for a very long time. So I do not hold this mayor directly responsible, but as a former police chief, and a very good police chief, he has fallen into that culture. And I have a problem with that. And so we need a city planner. And one of the cornerstones of what I would be as mayor is we're going to clean up planning and zoning. And we're going to figure out what we are actually doing and what the city is going to look like in 10 years. Thanks.
You know, again, we do the fact check. We had a person who was in charge of the planning and zoning department who, through some discussions and persuasions, decided it was time for him to go because he was not a friendly person. He was obstructionist at times. So everybody called for, please do not hire the second in command. Do not put him in that position because he's not a city planner. Go out and find a city planner. So we went on a nationwide search. And we had, I know Dave doesn't believe that because he wasn't part of it, but we went on a nationwide search. We had people from California, from New Mexico, we had people from all over the country apply. So when you talk about city planning and you talk about the Northeast, we're a little bit different than New Mexico and California and Wisconsin and some of the other places where people apply. So we put together a committee. The city charter says that to hire the replacement for planning and zoning, you have to have members of the administrative committee of the Planning Commission and of the Zoning Commission. They came together and they interviewed 5 of the top finalists, and we hired a city planner. Now, some people say, oh, well, he should be right on top of things right away. They don't want to give him a chance to learn a little bit about Norwalk and to get his feet wet and to start implementing his plan. But we do have a city planner. We also have a person with a city planning degree in the redevelopment agency, and we have one in my office as an economic development director. So we have 3 city planners on staff. Thank you.
Okay,
Would you like their names?
So we have a queue.
yeah. You have a question? You have a question?